Hello, my friends. I'm very excited to be with you right now. Going to just pull up information I want to go through. Just want to welcome you to Spark and give you kind of an idea of what it is. And the first thing that I need to point out, and I pointed this out in the webinar, but I want to reiterate it because it's very important. All right, the vast majority of business advice out there that you get in books or interviews with big business tycoons, the reason they're willing to give away their secret sauce, the reason they're willing to tell you all this information, because, I mean, think about it. They don't want competition. They want things easy peasy. So they're either giving you wrong information, they're giving you just a portion of the recipe, or they know that what worked for them will not work for you. In fact, it will cause you to fail, and that's why 9 out of 10 businesses ultimately do fail. It's because people have access to all this information and they're out there looking, trying to say, well, here's what worked for this company, here's what worked for that guy. And guess what? As the Chinese proverb says, you cannot step in the same stream twice. That water is moving. It's always a different stream. It is always different water at a different point. Everything is always different in a moving river. And that's what business is. To be successful in business, you need to go out and stand in the middle of a river of money and dip your bucket and pull it out. But what worked for one person is not always going to work for another person. In fact, what worked for one person is often likely to not work for another person because that first person already took that opportunity. So they already came along. Like Steve Jobs has already pioneered the way in computers. And Bill Gates, and you see these things like Lexus. Yeah, Lexus. Is that right? I don't even know what they're called. I just saw it. I have a friend that uses it. I don't know very many people that use it. I know it's kind of like this third option, this other contender that's supposed to be better, and it may actually, in fact, be better in every way. But they can't get a serious hold on the market because that opportunity is already gone. It's already taken up. And so you need to look not at what they did and go and emulate what they did. You need to look at why they did and then find what you should do given those same things. Okay? You look at what questions they had to ask, how they assessed the market, how they searched for those answers, what gave them those ideas, and what validated the ideas that they went with. And that's what will bring you success, is emulating that pattern to finding your own unique ideas. So that's what Spark is it is a common method for sussing out unique methods or unique ideas to your own success. So it is a common method to finding unique answers that will bring you success. And what will bring your business success is going to be different than what will bring my business success, is going to be different than what brought Steve Jobs success and what brought Warren Buffett success and all these things. And so it's all fine and dandy to look at what brought them success, but not for the purpose of emulating what they did, but for emulating the method of finding what you should do, because it could be completely different. All right. So people, I've had so many kids when I worked with scouts and these young men that I've been able to be in a bit of a leadership role, a bit of a mentor to them. I've had so many ask me, like literally say to me, man, is there anything you don't know how to do? And it's really fun to answer that to them because I like to say, no, there's nothing I don't know how to do. I know how to do everything. And then they kind of look at me in shock because it's almost like they they thought that, but then when you admit to it, they're like, whoa, wait a second, what's up? And I'm like, and I can teach you how to do anything right now. And then they kind of get interested and say, look, step one is learn about it, research it. Step two is practice it. Step three is master it. So if you ask me to cook a souffle, never done that in my life, but I know how. I'm going to go to Google, I'm going to go to YouTube, I'm going to watch all these videos about it. I'm going to go to recipe.com and get all the ingredients and the recipe and the instructions on how to do it. And then I'm going to get my pots and pans, and most likely just my pans, and I'm going to practice making a souffle until I've mastered it. That's how you make a souffle. See, I'm just adding more steps in there. Someone who's done it already is going to say, yeah, I know how to do a souffle. First you add the flour and you add this and you cook it to this temperature and you do this. They're still just telling you steps of what to go and do. The reason I know how to do anything is because I just know what the steps before that are. Like, these people say, well, I only know how to do one thing. I know how to make a souffle, and they're going to start at the steps that are specifically relevant to making the souffle. I'm going to tell you, I know how to do anything. I just start at the steps of learning how to do whatever it is you want to do. It's just more steps. That doesn't mean that I can't do it. Either one of us have to do a number of steps. For me, it just takes more steps than the chef who already has already taken those initial steps and learned how to make a souffle. And so what Spark is those initial steps to success. And what all these other business books are and all this other business information, they're those later steps that the trained chef is doing. And that may not work for you because you're cooking at a different altitude, right? It's all different. Or they forgot to mention something. When I first started, I got into building drones. Around 10 years ago, I was trying to build my own drones. This was before DJI and all the straight off the shelf drones that just fly right out of the box for you. This was when you had to buy your own components, and there wasn't a lot of information out on the internet. And everyone that was doing anything about it, while I was trying to learn it, they had kind of all come up through this with mentors, and they'd started with flying airplanes, and you had to buy your radio here and buy your props there and piece everything together. And for all of these people, it was just second nature. It was something they never thought of, that you have to arm the radio. And all I had ever done in radio control is I had like a radio control car that was out of the box, and you just turned it on and it worked. You flipped the on switch on each one and it worked. Well, with these kind of drones and things that were built off of these airplane components, essentially, you had to arm the radio by holding the joystick in a certain position for a certain amount of time. I had no idea, and no one out there thought to tell you that because it was so basic in their minds. It was like anyone at this level that's building their own drone has started way down at some other level, and they would know this stuff by now, right? That's what you get when you get information where people are kind of saying, oh, here, let me tell you how it's done, okay? They're skipping over vital pieces. I was never able to get my drone off the ground. It was the hardest thing for me to find the answer to that. When I finally found someone that said, oh, you got to arm your radio, and showed you how to do it, I was like, oh my gosh, that didn't come in the instructions with the radio, didn't come, like in the instructions, and anybody saying how to build drones, or any of these people out there, these hobbyists doing all these incredible things, nobody mentioned it, ever. It took so much searching for me to figure that out. And so Spark is designed to be those initial steps that will give you the opportunity to build your success formula that works for you with your current position on the river. your current access to all of these tools and what's out there, and we're going to do it without skipping over how to breathe. You know, it's like when you have a ski coach, he's going to tell you how to ski down the hill. He doesn't mention that you got to breathe. Actually, my ski coach did. He was a pretty good ski coach. But a lot of times they're just like, well, breathe. Everybody knows how to breathe. We don't have to talk about that. And now what you see actually is our culture is becoming more aware of breath. You've got Lamaze for women giving birth. You've got yoga, special breathing in yoga. You've got special breathing in meditation. You've got special breathing techniques for snipers in the military. It's not just foo-foo stuff. You've got Wim Hof, who teaches you how to breathe so that you can resist cold temperatures. He swims under ice. You guys, he climbs mountains like the Eiger in shorts and no shirt, just like shorts, shirtless, running up mountains. And it all comes down to breathing techniques. So there's so much more to breath, but typically people don't mention breathing because they never studied it themselves. They just did it subconsciously. They didn't have to think about it. They've been breathing since they exited the womb, and they just took their first breath naturally, and nobody talks about these things. The same thing happens in business, where there's all these really vital things that can optimize and improve and be like the main thing that guarantees your success in business, and nobody's talking about them because they don't even realize that they do them. They've always just done it naturally, and they haven't had to think about it. And so, welcome to my home. We're up here in Sundance, Utah. Incredible community and area built by Robert Redford, and beautiful place. Love it up here, and this is where we're going to be bringing all this to you from. This has been one of my kind of lifelong dreams, is to live here, and now I actually do. And like I literally, my wife and I walked to the restaurants at Sundance the other night. It was like 14 degrees out or something, and it was easier to walk than it was to drive down there. I mean, it's literally right down the corner. So this is my dream come true. This is where my energy is. It just feels right, and where I get the most out of life. And I'm excited to share that with you from here, and to help walk you through that process of finding your unique path to ultimate success and $1 million idea a day. Now, obviously, you're going to choose $1 million idea to focus on and turn it into $1 million idea. It's important to remember what Thomas Edison said. He said that success is 99%, well, he said first, success is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration, okay? This whole course is focused mainly, we're going to be focused 90% on that 1%, on that inspiration, getting that inspiration, and then refining it, improving it, optimizing it, validating it, and then creating it. And that is where most of you have that figured out. Now, we could have created a big course on how to do the work and all the perspiration part, but that's not what most people need. In fact, I'll refer you to Unlimited courses all about that, and you can go and learn that from other people. But getting your mind and the mental part right, where you have that creativity, you have that continuous spark of inspiration and motivation, we're going to take that spark. This is going to be the spark that lights your world on fire and gives you that idea, that one great, incredible idea that takes you everywhere you want to go. And I'm so excited that you signed up for this. I'm so excited to have you here. So excited to be able to interact with you and share this with you. My goal is to see 1 million sparks ignite and catch fire and bless the world. Like I said in the webinar, imagine where this world would be if just one of these incredible sparks had been snuffed out and never offered itself to our world. Think where we'd be if Thomas Edison had never invented the light bulb or any of the other things he invented. Think about where we would be if Nikola Tesla had never existed. Think of where we would be if Albert Einstein had listened to his teachers, if they were successful in labeling him a dummy and worthless and never going to be able to amount to anything, and they shut him down and snuffed out that spark, and we never had what he has offered to our world. Think where we would be if Steve Jobs or Bill Gates had been snuffed out early, or even Steve Wozniak, the real genius behind Apple. Steve Jobs was just a marketing genius that made it successful, but Wozniak was the one that had that spark of inspiration, that was doing things with computers that amazed Steve Jobs and made him say, wait a second, there's something here. We could make money from this. Okay? So there are thousands of people who have changed our world with their own spark of genius. My goal is to help you find your spark of genius and help 1 million other people find their spark of genius and see how the world changes as we become a group, a club of world changers, finding our spark and making things happen in this world to change it for the better. So I can't wait to get through this with you. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you stick with this all the way through the end. I know it can get long sometimes. It's a pretty substantial course, and there's no threat of loss like at college where you lose your money or get bad grades if you don't go through it. Like, this is on you. You got to stick to it. You got to be the one that's dedicated to make sure it happens, because we can't force you, and we don't want to force anyone through this. We want people who are going to take this and see the value that's in it and just cling to this with incredible gratitude and move forward and share with the world what their incredible spark was. And we just want to be a part of that journey and help you get there a little faster. So thanks so much, and we will see you in lesson 1. This has been a somewhat lengthy introduction to Spark, but things you need to know. Thanks.